Hello everyone, and welcome to our Age of Sigmar General's Handbook First Impressions Review. What else do you want to call this?
Is there anything else to call it?
I guess it's the First Impressions in Review.
Yeah.
So we're doing this a little bit different than we've done most of our reviews in the past, where we've already actually played the games, which are immediately in the link below in the vault, so you can see exactly what we're talking about right now by clicking the link. You can pause this video, watch the game, and come back, but we're kind of doing a pre-review here, which is a post for us, and then we'll do another post-game after the video, talk about everything in the General's Handbook. And, excuse me, I want to point out that this is a General's Handbook review, not the Age of Sigmar game review. So everything we're talking about is just the General's Handbook here, which is first impressions, first skim through, very, very positive. I really, really like this book.
It almost feels like the rest of the rules for Age of Sigmar that the pamphlet didn't have.
This should have been...
This is the rulebook for it. As far as I'm concerned, this is essentially, for all intents and purposes, this is the rulebook. They gave you, the quick start basic rules, and now they've come up with a full rulebook for the game, and that's what we're working with now.
In a very honest opinion here, very, very positive. I actually really like a lot of this. So in this book, I'm going to go right to the table of contents. Talk about what's in this book. We got narrative games. We have match play, which is our point system finally.
Yep.
We got some campaigns and...
like the almost the historical stuff?
Yep, there's the one big battle with Archaon invading Nagash in here. The thing I was most excited for... Oh, there's also some Path to Glory. But the thing I was most excited for, obviously, is the point system, the match play system. A couple... we have an errata. The 3 rules of 1 that are in the match play. They talk about house ruling, measuring from bases instead of the model.
Yes.
Which is going to be the MiniWarGaming house rule for all gaming. Age of Sigmar, I believe, unless we can find a reason to not.
I think it makes sense. I think part of it is the fact that we're using the miniatures for more than one game system.
Yeah.
So the bases are still important for us for covering Warhammer Fantasy. So yeah, using the house rule of measuring from the base makes sense, especially if you've got a collection that you're planning to use for both Age of Sigmar and Warhammer Fantasy.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
So in this video here, we'll talk about match play, and we'll have a video, like I said, in the vault right now, immediately playing a 2,000-point game of Josh versus Cullen. With the match play rules, using the measure from the base house rule. I'm in the room for, I think, most of the game, because I wanted to get a feel for it too. And let's also talk a little bit about Path to Glory in this video as well. And then the narrative play and everything else, we'll do a separate review, because we've already recorded a separate Triumph and Treachery game, which is actually in this book as well. We'll do that as a separate review and a separate game. But let's briefly talk about the Path to Glory. I want to get this out of the way right now. You know why.
Yeah, I think we both agree totally on this, which is rare for us.
Yeah, it's true.
Just
actually.
Straight up agreeing on things.
So before I say anything, I want to stress again that I love this book. And this is the one thing I was not overly impressed with, is Path to Glory. So they have Path to Glory, like this supplement that you can still buy, with this All Chaos and the Chaos Patron for Gods. And that's a copy pasted in this book. But then they added Stormcast Eternals, Iron Jaws, Fire Drakes,
Fire Slayers,
yep. Sylvaneth, and Undead. So the copy and paste of the Chaos, it's good. We did it before, it was good.
The Chaos one is fun.
Yeah.
It feels balanced enough for it to be definitely lots of fun.
Absolutely. It really is. And actually, we'll probably do that. No, we definitely will be doing that again, actually. The Stormcast Eternal one, I think they gave them too much. Let's actually go over to that for a second and look at the actual rule, stuff they added to them. Because in Path to Glory, you pick from 3 different types of heroes, and then you get to and then you get to add a number of rolls compared to the hero you pick. Like for example,
a number of starting rolls equal to So if you're using, let's punch up.
I know I should have had this open right away. It's over in.
It's not. No.
Steve no do technology will.
I'm noticing this.
Here we go, Path to Glory campaigns. So let's talk about the Chaos one, which you guys seen, our Chaos Path to Glory campaign.
Right.
You can choose, let's go ahead and say I'm going to go and follow Khorne. I can choose a Lord of Chaos and get 3 units added to my warband, sorry, 6 units added to my warband right away. Or I can add a Mighty Lord of Khorne and get 5. Or I can pick a Lord of Khorne on a Juggernaut and get 4 units right away. Kind of all makes sense. More stronger character.
Yeah, the more powerful characters will not give you as many initial units to start with.
Yeah. We go over to the Stormcast Eternals, and they're already off the hop. Did they go too far? Already off the hop, getting more rolls, more extra units than anybody else.
So yeah, the Lord Celestin's giving you 7.
7 units.
Oh,
You can take a Lord Celestin on Dracoth for 6 units. Or you can take a Lord Celestin on Stardrake, that big dragon, and still get 5 units. That is more than you get with a Mighty Lord of Khorne on a Juggernaut. I'd not seen that balance there. But no, the big one with that one is, then you look on the followers table when you roll on that, and any one of them can be swapped out for 10 Liberators. That's a pretty nasty unit.
10 Liberators is huge compared to, was it like 10 of the... Oh, I'm blanking now. We're with the basic Chaos.
Horsemen? Yeah. Marauders, 5 Marauder Horsemen, 12 Warriors or Chaos. It's just not going to stand up to this.
Well, Warriors or Chaos maybe, but the 20... what's the super basic Chaos guys? I'm blanking on it.
The Reavers or the Marauders.
Yeah, the Reavers.
Yeah, I think it's 12 Reavers. Actually, I'm going to go back and check how many Reavers you can get for 10 Liberators.
16 Marauders. Yeah.
20 Reavers or 16 Marauders.
Ugh.
Yeah. So, but I mean, okay, it's not that far off. We know Stormcast is really good.
Because there are 2 factions that are really strong. So, yeah, the Stormcast initially feels a little bit more powerful, but that's okay.
And that's an untested initial gut response. But would you agree? It feels a little too much.
But not enough that I wouldn't do Stormcast versus Chaos. I'd still play that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's the only gut feeling. So we move on to the Fire Slayers. Now, our Fire Slayer army has not got to the studio yet. By no fault of the person doing the job. It just got delayed by actually Games Workshop. Just things happen with mail and stuff.
Long story short, Games Workshop didn't have the models to send.
We ordered too many.
Yeah. Whoa. So our painters now got a hold of them.
Yeah, they could be here by the time you're watching this video. But I'm not, because it should be here really soon. But yeah, so we can't really speak intelligently about the Fire Slayers. We have no hands-on experience. But honestly, it looks pretty good. Next one is, I believe it's Sylvaneth. No, it's Skaven. I'm going to come back to that one. Let's talk about Sylvaneth for a second. Sylvaneth, we can't quite do it yet. We don't have all the models for that because there's some new units in there. It doesn't look bad. It looks pretty good. Ironjaws, same thing.
Yeah. Don't have the first-hand experience, unfortunately, yet to be able to say too much about them.
But it looks good. Let's go over to Skaven. I don't know. It's not playable.
What was Games Workshop thinking?
So
you have 2 options, or sorry, no, we got a couple different options here. So if I take let's say a Grey Seer, that gives me 5 units, as many as the Lord Celestin on Stardrake.
Yes. So, and then let's look at, they have one option that the rest don't have is, well, Chaos kind of has this, but instead of one retinue table, they roll on for 1 to 6 different units, they can choose, it's all one retinue table, but it's 5 different ones. So I can choose to roll on Clan Verminous retinue table, and a 1 to 3 is 10 Storm Vermin, and a 4 to 6 is 10 Clan Rats. It's not going to do much.
Compared to 10 Liberators?
Or how about I go to Clan Molder? I get 6 Giant Rats.
Well, hey, whoa, look here.
Or 2
Clan Eshin, you can get 3 Gutter Runners.
Yeah, it doesn't, it looks a little low, but not so low that I didn't want to try it. That looks a little bit low. We're going to come back to this. Going over to Undead. I don't know what you guys are thinking on that one. The Undead one is not playable. I'm not trying to be negative.
Okay, the Undead one you could play against Undead. If you want to do Undead versus Undead.
So the Undead have the same thing where they have a couple different charts they roll on for retinue. But if you pick a Necromancer, you have to roll on the Death Mage part of the chart. Which means you can only possibly get on a 1, 2, or 3, 10 zombies, 4 or 5 dire wolves, a 6, a corpse card.
I mean, 10 zombies could take 10 liberators, right?
You can't take 2. No, so yeah, the death one I would ignore altogether. It doesn't exist.
Okay, so I don't know. Like, if you're planning on using it, I'd say modify those numbers up
Yeah.
by a lot. It feels like the guy, the whoever wrote the Death Warband table wasn't in the same room and never talked to the guy who wrote the Stormcast one.
Yeah. So okay, so we read that and like, okay, we're gonna ignore this one. It looks pretty bad. So when we were breaking up how we were going to do this review of the book and what games we were going to do for it, we originally had a plan to review this Path to Glory separately and then do a game right away, moving into a bit of a campaign. So Cullen chose Skaven because Cullen plays Skaven. And I took the Stormcast because, well, it's Stormcast and we've got to review some, I like Stormcast. So we rolled, I haven't recorded it, we rolled up our units, deployed them, and I ended up with a massive, scary-looking army, and Cullen got a bunch of clan rats.
I was going to say,
in groups of 10.
Did you? I think you had a Lord on Dracoth.
Yep.
And he had a Gracier.
He had a great. Okay, so I had a Lord on Dracoth, 2 units of 10 Liberators, 1 unit of 5 Retributors. I had Judicators. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, and then I rolled a couple of characters. I had I had 1 character. I had a Relictor and something else.
Long story short, he had a less powerful character, and you outnumbered him.
Yeah, I outnumbered the Skaven.
Not only outnumbered him in wounds, obviously, but actually in model count, you outnumbered him.
He was able to get he was able to get a Plague Claw Catapult, a couple of slave units. He didn't get a monster, did he?
I don't think he did.
Either way.
Or no, he got what's the big scary...
Oh, the Help Abomination.
Yeah, he got the Hellpit. But not enough to really balance everything out. Yeah.
So, because the Hellpit. So we looked at that and we're like, okay, we're not going to record this. It just didn't seem like it made sense. We're not saying this is not playable, because the chaos part of it is amazing.
I'd still, I mean, here's the thing is, cut out Death all together.
Yep, I would. I would.
And cut out the Skaven stuff.
Maybe double the Skaven, or give the Skaven 50%. I don't know. Cut
those out, just 100%, and it looks great.
I want to do Iron Jaws.
And if you want to make your own Death Warband table, I don't know, use the one that they have and just 3 times as many everything.
I don't.
You know, if you've got that hero,
double it maybe.
You get 20 or 30 zombies. Well, good 30 zombies.
30 zombies might be too much
compared to 10 liberators.
Maybe not. 10 liberators.
I don't know.
Yeah,
there be some necessary modifications, I think there.
Yeah. Okay. So that was it. That was the one. That was literally the one area. Well, no, there was one more minor thing, but there's really the one area where it didn't do it for us. Though the Path to Glory chaos part aces. Now the Path to Glory new units, Ironjaws, Sylvaneth, Stormcast, probably gonna be pretty good. We don't have hands-on experience yet. So that was the one area we failed to drop the ball. So that's it. We'll move on from that. 1 thumb up, not 2, because Path to Glory was pretty awesome.
Path to Glory is super awesome. Yeah. So I give that a 1 thumb up at least.
All right.
Just like I said, they ruined it by adding 2 tables in that made no sense. Everything else looks good.
Yeah. It's like no thought there on that one. So let's talk about before we get into the actual match play, the 3 rules of 1. And I had marked what page that was on, so I wouldn't have to look for it forever.
I could tell you it's 183, but then
and it's on 183 because I marked it down. So we have a new kind of an errata. The 3 rules of 1. The following special rules apply to all pitched battle games. However, we are most likely to apply these to all games that we do. So why don't you go ahead and read us the first rule of 1, Josh?
The first rule of 1. Each spell can be attempted only once per turn rather than once per wizard per turn. For example, after you've attempted to cast Arcane Bolt, you cannot attempt to cast it again in the same turn.
Yep, I like that. No more stacking Arcane Shields. No more just nuking things down with Arcane Bolts by getting a bunch of wizards. I like that. Second rule of 1.
A roll of 1 to hit, wound, or save always fails. This applies to the roll after any rerolls have been taken, but before modifiers are applied.
So no more auto-hitting or auto-wounding. Makes sense. It's a dice game, so yeah, most of us are used to that anyway. So yeah, I like that one a lot. And the third rule of 1.
Any extra attacks, hit rolls, or wound rolls gained by the use of an ability cannot themselves generate extra attacks, hit rolls, or wound rolls. For example, the extra hit roll generated by a Ripperdactyl's Voracious Appetite ability cannot also generate further hit rolls.
I've done that numerous times, and I've never got many extra hits. But yeah, I'm good with that one. I don't think it really was necessary. But yeah, okay. Totally good.
That makes... I like that. It makes sense. It feels like almost... With everything I have right now, it still makes sense, but with future releases, that might make a lot more sense.
Yeah. No,
it
you're right.
allows them to add these different abilities in and not be like, we needed a rule for this.
That's a very fair point. You're actually right about that. Okay. Pitched battles. Actually, let's talk about summoning before getting to pitched battles, because they did change that. Or is that in this part of the game anyway?
Let's talk about pitched battles, and if we don't hit it, then we'll talk about summoning at the end.
There is a tweak to summoning that, as you know, if you watched my Age of Sigmar battle reports, I never summoned or rarely summoned because I couldn't figure out how to balance it properly, and I think they found a way of balancing it properly. Fairly good. Okay, so pitched battles, we have 3 game types: Vanguard, Battle Host, and War Host. Vanguard is a 1,000-point game. It allows you 1 to 4 leaders, 2+ battle line units, 0 to 2 artillery, 0 to 2 behemoths, and any number of others. So we have basically 4 new keywords that are added to units. Leaders are heroes, characters. Battle line are like your basic old core troops.
Yeah, your basic troops.
Artillery, obviously, and behemoth is monsters and such. I don't know why they didn't call that monsters. But, actually, because of Skaven, I think some of their war machines got called behemoth instead of artillery. So I guess that makes sense. In Battle Host, it goes to 2,000 points, increasing your leaders to 6, 1 to 6. Battle line is 3+, 0 to 4 for artillery, and 0 to 4 for behemoths. War Host is 25, 1 to 8 leaders, 4+ battle line, up to 5 artillery, up to 5 behemoth. So, pretty good. It's very similar to Fantasy, how it used to be. I like it.
Yeah, the older Fantasy comp. It feels very, I don't know why they went from 2,000 to 2,500 instead just to 3,000, but
yeah,
I mean, you can figure out their formula pretty easy.
I think I know why. At the first time when we first read this, I was thinking the same thing. I don't know why I did that, but after playing one game at 2,000 points, how long did it take you to film that one game?
Yes.
7 hours. So they say the Vanguard game, that is the 1,000 point game, takes up to 1.5 hours. The Battle Host is a 2,000 point game, takes up to 2 to 2.5 hours. And a War Host game is 3 or more hours. Now, we take longer to film a game than the average person playing because camera slows it down.
Well, the camera, I mean, all of that slows it down huge amounts.
But yeah, these games, they're bigger and longer than what I personally am used to. All right, that's the point system. The triumph table that is on that pamphlet? Now that is part of pitched battle where if Josh and I are each going to make a list at a 2,000 point army list each, it's not very easy to make your list exactly 2,000 points because units are paid for in groups of 5 or 10 at a set point cost. So you can't always hit exactly 2,000 points, for example. So if one side has less points than the other when they go to the table, kind of like a little bit of a chicken, how much less do you want to play? You get to roll on the triumph table that applies for that game. So once per game ability, which I kind of like that. They found a way to bridge that gap.
Well, it's almost similar in to like when playing X-Wing, where you might go for a bid of having lower points to get the ability.
What's the ability in X-Wing? It's been a while.
Well, so X-Wing, it's more of it's like an initiative bid.
Oh, right.
When it comes to point levels. So taking less points to try to get initiative.
Yeah.
So in this, it's, I might take 30 less points in the hopes that I'm going to get the triumph.
Oh,
but if my opponent takes 40 less points, well, I should have taken 30 points more, I guess.
Yeah. No, absolutely. It is. I never even would have thought of that. That's a really good idea. It's a little extra, and these are potentially game-changing abilities. I mean, they're not they're potentially game-changing. We have Inspired. You can reroll all failed hits for one unit made for the army in one combat phase. That's one of the 3 you can possibly get. That's pretty good. When you really have to kill something, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, and it depends on your local meta. Would I bid 20 points off my army to try to get that?
Absolutely.
Sure.
I don't think I would want to ever bring a 2,000 point army. I will risk lower points all the time, but then so will you. So it's even lower. And there's a secondary game for me. Another change is monsters in cover. Now, this one I love. No more toe in the cover. Monsters have to be wholly within the cover. So monster bases.
You're saying you have to be in cover to get cover?
Yeah, go figure. Can't just stick your wing in there. No, that one's good. I like that one a lot.
Okay, now you see you skipped it. Go back to, well, now I'm all over the place. 186.
That's why you're here. You're here to help me catch the stuff I skip. Are you going to switch my page for me?
I was going to.
I know you were. Ooh.
Reinforcement points.
Oh, right. Thank you. See, I would have skipped right over. I would have missed it. I'm trying to remember where it is. Reinforcement points is how they deal with summoning. Why don't you go ahead and explain this one up?
I'm just going to read it verbatim. Sometimes there's
like
spell
that.
or ability. I'm not feeling particularly creative. Sometimes a spell or ability will allow you to add units to your army or replace units that have been destroyed. In a pitched battle, you must set aside some of your points in order to use these units. The points you set aside are called your army's reinforcement points and need to be recorded on your army roster. Each time a unit is added to an army during a battle, you must first subtract the number of points the unit would cost from the pool of reinforcement points. If there are not enough points in the pool to pay for the unit, you must either decrease the size of the unit until you have enough points for it, or decide not to use it after all. If you decide not to use the unit, then the ability or spell that allowed you to take it in the first place is still considered to have been used, even though no unit actually arrived. Long story short, if you want to summon on a full unit of something, you pay the points for it, and it sits in almost a reserve.
Yep.
That you don't have to roll for, what turn it comes in. You just have to cast the spell or do whatever that brings it in.
When I first read that, I was like, okay, sure. I can choose to not put units on the field and summon them later on. It can be useful. I might be better off just put them on the table right away. And then we played one game, and I immediately saw, on turn 2...
Oh, never mind. This is how this is supposed to work.
If he would have kept that unit and summoned it in now... Because I had the mindset of playing how I used to play, not thinking about all the new scenarios that are in this book. And this reinforcement point thing, this whole way of dealing with summoning, works. It makes sense. I like it a lot. Very good job on this one, Games Workshop. I like it.
It's simple. Now, it says that you set aside the points, so you don't have to say what it is. So it's not, I'm going to set aside 100 points worth of skeletons. I'm going to set aside 100 points worth of summoning.
Oh, I never considered it that way.
So you don't have to say ahead of time what it is you're going to bring, because you can kind of play it by ear depending on what you need.
Interesting. You're right. I wonder how...
That, for me, balances out having the flexibility to be able to summon in different stuff, if that's what you need to summon in, balances out not having stuff on the board. Because I might, set aside 500 points to summon, and then see what I'm facing off against and go, I need a bunch of skeletons, so I'm going to summon them. Or, maybe I need to summon Vargeist because I need something to move fast.
Or I'm going to risk bringing on that monster with a really high summoning roll because I need a big heavy hitter. Excuse me. Yeah. I didn't notice that. I figured you had to put it a part of your list, but you're right.
Yeah, it just says you set aside the points. It doesn't say you pick a unit and when you build the roster. It's awesome. Now, the other one for this is spells or abilities that allow you to add models to existing units don't cost you any reinforcement points. However, in a pitched battle, spells or abilities cannot increase the number of models in a unit to more than it had at the start of the battle. So this is, I'm going to go to the Undead.
Yep.
The banners that allow you to get guys back, those aren't costing you points to bring the guys back. You just can't increase your unit to bigger than it was before it started.
See, that's good. That's really, really good. The same page is my favorite thing they added to this book. Knowing that points are already in place, and I hope that one day they add this to 40K as well. War Scroll Battalions, which are, for those who don't understand that term, are formations. They cost points. Not a lot of points, but to get those special rules from your formation, your War Scroll Battalion, you pay anywhere from 100 to a couple hundred points per battalion. That's a great idea.
It's what they should be doing in 40K.
Absolutely.
I'm unapologetic for when it comes to 40K formations.
Yep.
They should be costing points.
Yep.
So the example is, I think you guys have seen me play Stormcast and bring Skyborn Slayers.
That's going to cost you something now.
Now, if I want to do that, I have to pay for the units, and I pay, it's not a ton, but I think it's an extra 140 points.
Which is not a lot.
To make use of the formation rules. It's enough.
Yeah.
That's a unit of guys.
Yes, it is. Yep. So, fantastic idea. Fantastic idea. And some of the crazier War Scroll battalions aren't in here as well. We know there was a handful that we went through in the back book that were like, come on, this is just a game one ending battalion.
Yeah,
turn one ending battalion.
I can't
What was that
remember
one
what it
called?
was.
Bunch of characters.
It was with the prime and the characters, and we're like, let's play this and see what would happen.
Yeah.
I win turn one.
Yeah, and it's not here. So, okay, we have 6 new battle plans. We're not going to go over each and every one of them. You will see us play each and every one of them. I think in the game, in the description, sorry, the link below is...
It's taken hold.
Is it taking hold? It is taking hold. Yeah. Okay. So it's the first one. But man, I can do a video on each one of these battle plans. They're good. They're very reminiscent to some tournament package scenarios where they're balanced and they force you to try to do something or hold something or get to something. They're just good.
They're all simple, objective based games. It makes so much sense. And this is what when I was playing a bunch of Age of Sigmar against primarily Cullen, this is what we were missing.
Yeah,
because it was just us running around doing all these weird, wacky, fun scenarios, but there was no solid base on learning how to play the game and learning the balance in the units.
In my opinion, the battle plans to date were hit and miss. Some of them were crazy fun. Some of them were pretty balanced, and some of them were I didn't know how to. I couldn't play them with any kind of fun. But these ones all are great. So you'll see all of them in our upcoming Age of Sigmar battle reports. Which I mean, I don't know if that has to be said, or maybe we've kind of implied, but Age of Sigmar is now back. We'll be recording it regularly again, so you'll see it on a weekly basis. So that's it for match play. Let's get right to a game. Now, after the game, unless you have any more you want to add to this.
Nothing really. I mean, this is for me. This is the game.
Yeah. So we're going to, right now, go play a game, which we actually did yesterday. And then we're going to talk about our thoughts of match play afterwards in a brief little post-game. Now, that will be in the description and the link below. Now, also, right now, Josh and I are going to do another one of these reviews where we're going to cover the multiplayer part of the game, which is so much fun. So much fun.
Yeah.
And everything else that we haven't covered yet in this book. So we have another review about multiplayer with a multiplayer game, a Triumph and Treachery multiplayer game coming up for you guys in the near future in the rest of this review. But for now, if you want to watch that first match play game at 2,000 points, that took them 7 hours to film, you can click that link below and get yourself a 7-day free trial just to watch that game. But you might want to keep that trial because Age of Sigmar is back and plenty more Age of Sigmar battle reports coming up. Thanks for watching and happy wargaming.